Yo, how's everyone doing? As you can see, I mean, I already have it pulled up, but we have the tier list maker, the good old El Clasico. I made a matchup chart before for Zato, and, I've been playing a lot of Sin. As you know, you've probably seen me in tournaments like TNS or, Shut Up and Fight, Geekly. Yeah, you've seen me a bit of everywhere. And, it's playing this character at the highest level and getting to get a feel for his matchups and whatnot. I've played him briefly in the past, even before I started like maining him, so I kind of already had an idea of how he played. But I mean, obviously with season 4 he's been reworked and whatnot, so matchups are a little different, but I've kind of always had the base structure of his matchups. Some have changed though drastically, playing so much in tournaments and versus higher top players, higher level players and sets and whatnot, and getting a feel. I feel like the time is now, and I've recollected my opinions. I've made a matchup chart before, months and months ago, and it's gonna look pretty different than how this one looks for sure. Keep in mind, this matchup chart, I'm gonna be very generous. I think the thing is, like I said before, when I made my Zato matchup chart, Zato was a character that was already considered the worst undoubtedly at the time. So the opinions didn't really matter too much. Like, people just accepted that their character beat Zato, like, by default. So it didn't really matter where I don't think people really cared too much. But I think people hate Sin, and he's obviously a stronger character. I'll save it for another video on how strong I actually think he is and where he is on a tier list, if I ever do make a tier list video. But this will have to do for now. I'm gonna make my matchup chart. You already see I have Sin, so let me go ahead and grab him. This is his matchup chart, his video. And then we have 6 to 6 plus, so 6-4, and maybe even better, 5.5 to 6 to 6-4, so slightly winning, right? That's kind of what that means. So heavily winning, slightly winning, even, slightly losing, and then heavily losing. Yeah, essentially, right? You see the numbers. I don't want to do this. I want to start with the characters he beats. All right, you know what? Let's start with the good. Let's start off on the positive, okay? First character I will put in here. Let's put. And again, this is not ordered. This is not ordered. I'm just putting them in the tiers. I'll talk about some of the matchups a bit. Some of them could be moved, but again, this is not ordered. All right. First character, let's go. Let's go with Goldlewis. Where's Goldlewis? I think Goldlewis is here. Previously, before the Goldlewis nerfs, I thought this matchup was even. The reason why I thought this match was even before is because you did too much chip damage, to the point where when you lost your turn, you couldn't really roll the dice. Okay, obviously Sin is a character where he has to take chances on his offense, right? And before, when Goldlewis made you block, you were losing so much HP that next time you were on offense and you were wrong, you couldn't really roll the dice as much. Now that you're able to save a lot more HP due to the chip damage nerfs, you're able to, roll the dice more, take more chances of neutral, whatnot. The neutral was already pretty good for Sin. So, the fact that you're able to play neutral, less scared due to you having more HP at all times, feels good. On top of that, Goldlewis's defense is not great. So his 2P is, while it does serve a lot of purposes, it's not like the greatest defensive tool. It's more his confirm from the 2P that's good, but the 2P alone isn't great for getting out of pressure. So, like, strike throw is good versus Goldlewis, but if it's correct, then it does, feel bad, of course, because it's Goldlewis knocking you down. But again, you get more chances to roll the dice, and that's where Sin's strengths actually, start to show the more chances you have. So I do believe this matchup is better for Sin now. That is the first matchup. The next matchup that I will put in this tier, let's go with Jacko. So, Jacko's a funny one because this matchup has always been good for Sin. From, any version of... Okay, I'm not gonna say any version of Sin, but ever since Sin got buffed in season 3, I believe this matchup has always been good for Sin. Yeah, I mean, it's basically and I can go ahead and place Asuka here too. These characters are pretty similar with how they interact with Sin. I mean, Jacko has no tricky movement. She's pretty bad at escaping. These characters are both bad at escaping. They don't really have tricky movement like that. Asuka has some good air normals, but Jacko, again, these characters aren't doing anything crazy. They're pretty bad at escaping his offense. They have to hold a lot more stuff. I mean, Asuka has a good 2P and mash options, right? But no faster normals, no 4-framers, anything like that, nothing crazy. If you don't have a DP and Sin can just make you hold what he's doing, it's a lot easier for him to get started. And also, I mean, the obvious, they both use objects, right? Minions and cubes. So Sin is able to special cancel off those cubes, and that is, or objects, and that's really good for Sin. I'm sure we've seen like the 6P beat driver clips from on the cubes and whatnot. Well, it's the same thing for minions, right? So yeah, when she gets hit, she just gets melted. So yeah, and then obviously Asuka, the more you wind down throughout the nerfs, I mean, I think before with the Asuka matchup, I think Asuka players overhyped that matchup as, you know, I think they downplayed it a lot. I don't think it was even that bad. I think it was like around even or whatnot. Maybe even Asuka won. I don't, like the matchup was fine. Asuka's power level was so high and he was able to put so much stuff on the screen that just didn't really matter. But due to the nerfs, he and the buffs to Sin, he definitely gets like smoked. I mean, from green mana card not restoring on hit to no more 5-stack cubes, like you're more single cubes versus Sin, like come on, like it's Sin definitely just destroys Asuka, or not destroys, but beats Asuka pretty bad this patch. So yeah, that's that for those two characters. Next character, where do we go from here? So let's put this guy, Bedman. Okay, so why is Bedman here? So, Bedman has worse neutral than Asuka and Jacko. Sin has really bad and probably the worst in the game air to ground buttons, like jump-ins, but he actually does excel in air to airs with like JK, JP's all right? But JK is pretty good. So Sin is pretty good in the air to airs, and Bedman loves to stay in the air, right? So, I mean, maybe this is just Bedman being too predictable, like players being too predictable, but, you know, he has a slow air dash, so Sin is able to actually, you know, kind of react to the air dash and take his time to go and air to air him. Bedman's jumps are just too predictable for his game plan, but again, this could just be Bedman players kind of just being too predictable and autopiloting. But I mean, Sin just does a lot of damage. Bedman does have a lot of HP, but his defense is nothing special, right? Kind of slower in the air, so Sin just dominates the neutral. I mean, the neutral is definitely in Sin's favor. Sin does more damage. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. Next up, let's go and grab Ino. So, why is Ino here? So, the Ino matchup is funny because Ino is one of the characters that can just take you through the wall, right? Off any hit. Sin can do the same with, you know, enough stamina. When Ino hits you and takes you through the wall, it could do like 30, whatever percent, 25 maybe. Sin can hit Ino and it just like it can do 50%, 60%. So just out risk rewards Ino, right? And obviously, and Ino does not have a DP. She's good at like jumping out, but like in terms of mash, like nothing crazy. Like she gets melted. I mean, it's just a risk reward matchup. Like it's as simple as that. If you play Ino and you think Ino wins, then like the neutral, that's cool, but it's not enough for what the risk reward in the matchup. I just think Sin wins it pretty heavily in that regard. So yeah, that's why Ino's there. Short and simple. And then I'm gonna put one more character in this tier. Let's go with Dizzy. So, Dizzy is a weird one. So, to talk about Dizzy, I kind of have to talk about Nago for a bit, because Dizzy is like Nago, but it's not bad at all. Meaning, like, they both have long normals and they're able to like keep Sin out, but unlike Nago, she's not good at playing around her negative frames. Nago, when he's negative, it feels like he's plus, and a lot of times you're actually killing yourself trying to take your turn when it is your turn on paper, right? But with Dizzy, when she's minus, she's just minus enough so you can do like a dash button or, you know, Elphelt, or take your turn and get your turn started and force pressure. But versus Nago, you can't do that. So Dizzy is just, it feels a lot easier to just kind of block what she's doing and then like be patient and take your turn. Her knockdown offense again isn't nearly as scary either. So it's not like you're ever at threat. She doesn't do enough damage either to really like contest Sin in that area. And she gets deleted. I mean, Dizzy has low HP until she hits that 30% health because of the 5 guts. So Sin is able to kind of just like, you know, mow her down and then, you know, just melt her, right? Yeah. And that's pretty much, her buttons just feel minus enough to the point where Sin can win. If they buff Dizzy's frame data though, this matchup will not be great for Sin. Please, if anyone from Arcs is watching this, do not change Dizzy's frame data. Let it stay like this, please, or we're all screwed. But yeah, that's probably it for that tier. Let me take one more look. Yeah, that's it for that tier. Let's move on. Okay, so in the next tier, the first character I will put, let's go with, dang, this hurts me. And again, this is me being generous, I'll put Geo here. So why is Geo here? So Geo is here because You have a DP. It's hard to actually get your touches in versus Geo, because the neutral it feels really, really hard to play the neutral in the matchup. Outside of when you get your touches, Geo doesn't have the greatest defensive options outside having a 4-framer. She's good in the air, but you know, she's not as great as some other characters in the air that I'll get into. She's a stagger character, and so it feels like she's kind of chancing a lot on her offense especially versus Sin, who has such a good DP. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, just having a DP versus her is so huge. The neutral is just pretty hard, and it's definitely a skill matchup, but it's definitely is hard to play. But I think just because of the DP, Sin probably slightly, like just barely wins it. It could go down to even, I'm not gonna lie. Like okay, it's slightly, I'd say it's even, but if I had to point it one way, I'd point it towards Sin. That's pretty much it. Next character I'll put here, I'll put Bridget. I mean, it's an annoying matchup, but Sin just out-risk rewards like the absolute shit out of this character. That's pretty much it. Sin's damage is just too good versus this character. She is a DP, it's an annoying matchup, but she kind of feels like a tickle monster in some areas, where Sin's hit just matters so much. Like they're a way bigger deal than if she were to touch you. So I just think for that, it's Sin favor. But I mean, she still has good neutral. She's still able, it's just like, you know, she has the tools, she just doesn't have the damage to back it up. She has a DP, she has good options. It's just a damage issue. If Sin's damage were to get toned down even more, then you would see this matchup start to maybe turn a little bit. Next, we have, what do I want to put here? Let me think. I will put Millia here. So I'll say this. Millia is only here for one reason and one reason only. It's because Capel does not launch. If Capel still launched and she was able to break the wall off Capel hits, this matchup would be down with like at the very bottom. Like it would be a terrible matchup. Absolutely horrible matchup if she was able to just break the wall for free. I mean, Millie has to hold Sin's offense. She has a good jump, good pre-jump and whatnot, but besides that, like she has to hold, and the risk reward is in Sin's favor. You don't die for Millia just jumping anymore. That is primarily the reason why this matchup is here. Sin's not great at hitting characters he's not great at exactly dealing with Millia when he's on the ground, but you know, it's just, you don't just lose the game anymore for getting hit. So yeah, I mean, Millia gets deleted. She has a little more HP than before, but I mean, she still gets deleted. So I think it's here, but if Millia had old Capel, like this matchup would be like doomed. This matchup would be terrible, but you know, it's here now. So, all right, next two are going to be pretty surprising. First, I'll put Slayer. So Slayer is here. So Slayer actually wins the reward battle, but Sin unironically does win the neutral. Sin does not win the neutral he basically never wins the neutral. So the fact that he wins the neutral is pretty big. Slayer has a bad backdash and only a regular 5-frame mash option and has bad movement. So like getting out of the corner is not great. Backdashing Sin stuff is not great because of the bad backdash. No great mash option. Slayer does have some good neutral options. You know, at the end of the day, Sin also does have a DP, which is huge for Slayer, and long buttons at stopping what Slayer is trying to do. Again, the buttons are a little laggy, but they are pretty long, and you know, they are able to kind of stop Slayer before he tries to do something, right? Sin, at the end of the day, just like I said, has a DP, wins the neutral, and can make Slayer hold stuff. The health nerfs matter a ton versus Slayer. Oh my gosh. Or sorry, versus Sin. Sin is just like kind of deletes this character a lot of the time. So Slayer kind of has to hold. You can't rely on backdash. You can't rely on some options. So you're just blocking more than other characters holding. Yeah, one of the also issues before the buff to Sin getting guard crush on his moves, especially like the overhead, is before the overhead into follow-up used to get punished by Slayer 5k. Not anymore. So yeah, no, this matchup is definitely better than it's ever been for Sin. Let's see. Do I want to put anyone else here? Two more characters I'll put. Two more. Sorry, I had to take a quick look. Two more characters. Let's start off with Zato. Zato is here. So I think Zato used to be higher, but so let me start with the good. So you have a DP, which is really good for Zato. You have a DP. You do more consistent damage than Zato. You have a DP, and you have some neutral options to deal with Eddie. But there are some bads. Okay, the bad is, so at the end of the day, it is Zato. So his offense is pretty, I mean, just, he's a strong mix-up character that, you know, due to the damage nerfs to most characters, they did buff Zato's damage before, but they actually didn't nerf his damage. So Zato does do more damage than before, and you do feel it. He, you know, he puts Eddie on you, he builds risk, and on top of that, he still has the damage buffs. So he does kind of delete characters. I will not lie, Zato does do a lot of damage. So getting hit is definitely a lot more scary than it's been before. But Sin does have a lot of HP, so he's able to survive when he hits like that threshold of lower, like he has when guts start kicking in. The issues are with this matchup. Okay, so the neutral is hard. It is hard to get past Eddie. Beat Driver is not as reliable as I wish it would be. You know, you do have laggier buttons, so it is kind of, it can be hard at times to deal with Eddie in some situations. It kind of feels like you get whiff punished by Eddie the same way you would get whiff punished by like Happy Chaos doing steady aim. Just kind of laggier buttons, so you kind of have to be careful what you press. You have the worst air to ground buttons in the game. So IEDing at Zato isn't as reliable as you would think a lot of the times. And the biggest issue with this matchup is when Zato takes to the skies. Sin, horrible. Oh my gosh. It's not just like a Zato thing. Like, it matters for Zato a lot because he has flight and he, you know, he has a really, really good JH. But versus characters in general that are good in the air, Sin is just not good. In fact, a lot of times when you're blocking Sin, instead of mashing out of his pressure, a lot of times people just jump out of his pressure because Sin has no reliable anti-airs. I've put the hitbox screen for 6P on the screen so many times that I'm sadly gonna have to ask my editor to do it once more. Sin's 5P is horrible as an anti-air. His 6P is probably one of the worst anti-air 6Ps in the game. It's just, if you look at it, it just does not work when people are above you. So characters that are really good at being above you, like Baiken, Zato, Happy Chaos, you know, characters that can just press a button and go straight down, it is really hard to deal with as Sin. And it's not reliable a lot of times. And due to, again, Zato doing more damage, and having better offense with summon, like the summon buff that he's gotten, being able to get into better situations for himself with what he's able to do. Getting knocked down, it's just not good. It's just not a good situation at all, you know, especially, it's just not good. So yeah, if Sin was, again, if he had like the GOAT anti-airs like Goldlewis, for example, then this matchup would be a lot easier. The neutral wouldn't matter as much. It's just having to already play neutral, and then, you know, even if you do kill Eddie and you are correct, you have to literally guess for your life a lot of the times, it feels, when trying to just take Zato out of the air, which most characters don't have an issue. The only reason this matchup is here is just, again, it's kind of risk reward. Zato has to get counter hits and whatnot and this. You know, his whiff punish game isn't crazy, but Sin gets so much reward for whiff punishing and for being right at, you know, certain points that, you know, it's just like, yeah, Sin definitely wins just super hard in that aspect. Also, Zato, you know, his P-normals aren't great, especially on defense. His P-normals are not great, so it's kind of like he has to take to the sky. Mashing out of his pressure is not great, especially due to the RPS that he has to set up when summoning from a P-normal. So Zato has to hold a lot more, right? He still has lower HP. He did get health buffs, but still has lower HP, like, to the rest of the cast. So he does get deleted, but nothing, yeah. This matchup is closer to even than I would think it would be. But it's not, Sin definitely does win just because of risk reward. Let's see. Last character I'll put in here is Kai. So this one is a surprising one, and it kind of made me questioning it now. But I think this matchup is very slightly in Sin's favor, just because Sin is a little more consistent on his hits compared to Kai. That's really it. The damage difference is just in Sin's favor on the hits that they both get. I think that Kai uses Orange Wall of Soul better, but outside of that, like, Sin, you know, from block strings to just hits, they're just more beneficial. Like, Sin is just better when it comes to those compared to Kai. The only issue is the neutral is in Kai's favor. Kai does win the neutral for sure. He wins the air battle, he wins the grounded battle, but when it comes to getting touches, Sin is just better at actually getting more impactful touches than Kai is, or dealing more impactful touches than Kai. But yeah, Kai does win the neutral. So very slightly Sin's favor, I do believe. Okay, now we'll get into the even matchups. Let's start with Baiken. I think Baiken's even. I know that Baiken players are starting to come around to Baiken beats Sin, and Sin players do believe that Baiken beats Sin, but I think it's even. Played a lot of this matchup. I've yet to fight a Baiken that has actually, like, beat me, but Yeah, this matchup, so it's hard to approach for both characters. Elphelt is strong versus Baiken, and you have the benefit of having distant meaties to try to play around parry. You're basically forcing Baiken to constantly guess, which is good, but it is hard to actually pressure Baiken, right? I mean, for obvious reasons. No projectile meteor or anything like that, just kind of distant meaties. It's hard to air her, because, yeah, it's just hard to air her. Or, sorry, did I say anti-air? Sorry, I don't know why I said air. I was thinking about something else. It's hard to anti-air her. Baiken doesn't have infinite HP, so you can kind of just kill her. She does have a good amount, but it's not like Johnny amount, right? So you can't just kill her, but the same kind of does go for her, but not as much since Sin is just so tanky. But yeah, it's kind of, both characters are kind of struggling versus each other at times. They both have tools versus each other, but yeah, that's pretty much that. Next, I will put Elphelt. So Elphelt, they both have similar frame data, but I do think Elphelt's buttons are just a little better. The jumping bomb move, I don't know the exact name of it, but it feels very strong versus Sin, because he has to jump to contest it, and if Sin jumps, he loses, it feels. He's just not good in the air. So it's just like chasing like that is just not good. But he doesn't have anything on the ground to really contest it. Elphelt doesn't have great defensive options. She has a 4-framer, but it's not the greatest. And, her HP obviously is not crazy. So Sin can just delete her once he gets her to block. Yeah, she kind of has to chance it on some other things, but Sin just, when he gets started, he just gets started. The risk reward is in Sin's favor for sure, but I mean, she does have like the best super in the game, so yeah, I do believe this matchup is even. Next, let's do Abba. This matchup's even. Sin wins the neutral versus non-jealousy rage Abba. So just regular Abba, Sin wins the neutral. Decent round start. Once Abba gets in burst and goes into jealousy rage though, it's over. Sin doesn't have like the resources to kind of keep her locked down forever, right? You don't just stamina with how it comes back. You don't have the resources to keep your pressure going or this, right? Or reliable neutral confirms, because again, you're just relying on having that stamina. Sin's buttons are not great at all to fight jealousy rage Abba either. Far slash is laggy. 2S is too slow, right? You don't have the normals to kind of keep her like pinned down. Beat driver is not as reliable as it seems, and a lot of times you have to chance it on that. Not to mention her little hop, the overhead hop in jealousy rage goes over beat driver. You just have to just keep chancing it in jealousy rage. ID back JH, run up DP is an actual option. Run up beat driver is just a chancing guess that if you don't have stamina, you can't confirm. And even if you have 1 stamina, you treat it as if you have none. Like, that confirm isn't getting you anything unless you have meter to follow it up. So it's like, you can't keep her locked down forever. You don't have the resources to just always combo her and keep her wasting that, wasting the jealousy or loop block strings over and over and over and over and over again. It doesn't work like that, right? So when she gets going, it's just like, it feels over. I would say this matchup, it's even, but if I had to point it one way, it's losing for Sin. I think Abba slightly wins if I had to point it at someone. But I think I will say it's even for now. Let's see, any other character I want to put in the air? Okay, I'll put 3 more. Okay, let's put you. So, Johnny. Why is Johnny here? Most people are probably going to be surprised by this that play Sin. This matchup feels horrible at times, but I think it is even. Let me talk about why. So, Johnny. Where do I start, dude? So, Johnny is not great at defense. Not really special, doesn't really do anything special at defense. But he does have like infinite HP. Johnny does win the round start, so you kind of have to hold whatever he does. The frame data is obvious to why the round start is Johnny favor. The neutral is ass. The neutral is not good. The only thing Sin has going for him in the neutral is Elphelt, but again, Elphelt is not reliable at all times. Obviously, because the confirm depends how much stamina you have and if you have meter and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, it's a 21 frame move, and the low profile doesn't start until frame 10. And Johnny has a 9 frame far slash and like the farthest reaching 2S in the game. It's he has the long buttons to stop Sin from getting started to what he wants to do. Good long buttons, especially faster ones, are good, very good versus Sin. So Johnny has those, but he does have to be somewhat careful of it because with 3 stamina he can get punished. Also, if Johnny is a heavy backdasher, then catching backdash with Elphelt is very good, as it gives a full combo with stamina. This is one of the few matchups though where ID button actually works. So Sin, as like I said, has the worst air to ground buttons in the game. But since Johnny players are so scared of Elphelt, you actually can catch them off guard sometimes with an IED, especially if they're misfinder heavy, can kind of just get over it. The issue is though, you can't really be 2+ on hit a lot of the times, so you kind of have to RPS even when you do hit them, depending on what the situation is. Sin can be tricky in this matchup. He can mix up his approach. RTL is very good versus Johnny, RTL being the Sin super. Sin's backdash though is pretty bad versus Johnny. So Sin's backdash is considered one of the best in the game, but the issue is it gives up too much space. It takes Sin so far back that you're just giving up space on the screen to Johnny, and that is just not great. Yeah, so it just gives up too much space when you want it to. Johnny's reward for checking Elphelt is huge, where Sin's is very dependent on his resources. Johnny's pretty good at being DP safe, but again, there are some knowledge checks in here and there that you do have to know when fighting Johnny and whatnot. So I'd say this matchup is even, but if I had to point it one way, I'd say Johnny does, like, I'd point it towards Johnny, like Johnny winning, but I'd say it's even for now. Next character, Mei. So, Mei's even. So, it's annoying. The neutral's annoying. You guys both have slower buttons, but her buttons are just better than yours. But Sin just feels consistent versus her. Mei kind of just feels like a wall when fighting her. She doesn't have... It's weird. Mei doesn't really have, like, the greatest forward approach. I know Dolphin is a thing, but Sin actually feels alright versus, like, Dolphin and, like, the RPS with it. He has a DP. So, I mean, that's always an option as well. If you get your touches, you can just snowball her. She does have a lot of HP, but it more comes from the guts that she has. I believe she has 4. Like I said, does well enough in the Dolphin RPS. Sin is better defensively, but Mei does win the neutral. So I think it's even. And the last character I'll put here is I'm lying. Fucking thought. Ram. So, Ram. Sword nerfs are huge. So now you can kind of just block and wait for, you know, all the shit to go away. For all the shit to go your way. You know, you have a DP, which is huge. You're able to milt Ram. Her defense isn't great. You pretty much lose everywhere on the screen, but you have a DP. So it's like you can milt her and get started, and when you do, she's not great. She's not great at getting Sin off of her. So yeah, before it felt like you lost hard everywhere. Now it doesn't feel as bad, but it still feels like she's still strong in the areas. But again, her health and what Sin is able to do and how much she has to hold, like some other characters, I'd say it's even. And that will do it for even and the winning characters. Now, you see the characters down below. Talk about the losing matchups for Sin. Where do I start, dude? Let's start simple. Let's start with Sol. So, Sol is slightly losing. The reason why this matchup is slightly losing. Where do I want to start? Okay. Sol has strong neutral into Sin. He wins the neutral in the matchup. He has many counters to what Sin is trying to do. To get out of Sol offense, obviously relies on mashing, or, mashing out of it, of course. Sin's mashing options are not great. Sol's air options are strong. Sin, again, can't deal with characters that have good air options, whether it's special moves or normals, just can't deal with it. Sol, has high damage. It makes you feel like each mistake you make as Sin costs like twice as bad. Sol 2D is amazing at beating what Sin wants to do in neutral. Bandit Bringer is hard to punish. Like I said, Sin has just bad anti-airs and pretty slow ground buttons, so it's just hard in general. So yeah, that's pretty much the reason for that. Pretty easy. Next, we can go with... Let's go Axel. I think Axel's here. I'm starting to come around this match. I used to think it was winning, but no, not anymore. So, to start with Axel. So, Sin struggles with zoning because, again, slow ground approach with the normals and terrible air approach. Like I said, he's has the worst air to ground buttons in the game. Axel 2P and 2K are just so broken versus Sin. Like, they're so amazing at boxing him out. Like, they just do everything. The best option to beat the 2P and the 2K is Hoof Stomp in neutral, which to confirm into a combo requires 2 or more stamina, which is just too resource heavy. And again, if you just do the Hoof Stomp raw, even if it counter hits, you're still minus on hit. So you need resource, any type of resource to be able to confirm your hits. And even then, you're chancing it. It's a guess, right? Burst is a lose condition for Sin. Yeah, Axel's 2K is just like so strong that it's just like, dude, it's so strong. It's just so strong for Sin. It feels like you're just always at full screen. The only good thing about this matchup is Axel milts when you do get in and run your offense. To add on to, his offense, Sin is pretty good at boxing Axel in the corner due to Axel's escape options not being like anything too crazy. But yeah, the neutral is just so one-sided that this matchup is here. Next, we talk about Faust. Like Axel, the neutral is awful. Like, it's just awful neutral. Long buttons that are very annoying. Sin obviously has slow buttons and big blue boxes, big hurt boxes. Faust goes under and over, like a lot of things Sin does. Sin just struggles to get in. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see. Faust has, I mean, easy access to save jumps. Even with just like a little item luck, can just kind of roll Sin before he even gets a chance to play the game. J2K is extremely good for Sin, and Sin just sucks at avoiding it. It counter hits a lot of what Sin does, hits a lot of extended hurt box of what Sin does. The reversal is kind of hard to deal with, but Sin is able to kind of stop what Faust wants to do with reversal with a meaty 6K. But I mean, it is a little annoying, but that's not even like the neutral is just why this matchup is here. It's just pretty bad. J2K, little bit of item luck. Sin is not great at dealing with items in my opinion. So it's just, yeah, that's pretty much it. Anji. This matchup's here. Spin is broken. So broken, especially versus Sin. So broken. I mean, Spin and even Anji normals just give Sin a hard time. Sin can't go under a lot of Anji's tools. Sin has to play it pretty safe. Anji has a lot of HP. If your character has a lot, like a really high amount of HP, then it's running, you know, when you're out of resources and you're playing around lower damage, feels like you're kind of healing the opponent at times. So, you know, just a lot of HP, especially being able to RPS with lower stamina Sin. It's just like having that HP is just so good. So yeah, large health pool to keep him going. Sin has very long recovery on his pokes. So if they do get spun, then Anji just takes Sin to town, dude. Like, it's just like puts him in the blender. Only thing Sin has going for him is a DP, which is pretty good because Anji kind of just gets smoked by DP if he doesn't bait it. So Sin is pretty good at dealing with the offense, like part of Anji, but holy dude, the neutral is just horrible. It is horrible. Let's see. Next up is Testament. Is this the last character I'm gonna put here? This might be the last character. No, I'm lying. There will be one more character after this that I put here. Yeah, I'll put Testament here. So Testament, okay, so like Axel and Faust, the neutral in this matchup is horrible. It is awful. Testament has strong spacing traps. That makes it really hard for Sin to contest them. Testament wins the round start pretty like convincingly. So Sin typically just has to like sit there and hold whatever Testament wants to get started and do. Yeah, I mean, Testament pretty much has every tool there is to make it rough for neutral, make it rough for Sin to play neutral. You know, it's not as bad as an aimbot reticle just sitting on the screen. You know, like they literally have everything to stop Sin. Low profile 2K, huge 6P, gray air options, big fireballs, right? And the only way to avoid them is by going over them. So, I mean, yeah. And Sin is, like I've said, horrible in the air. Worst air to ground buttons in the game. The only thing that Sin has going for him in this matchup is Testament has bad defense and not a whole lot of HP, but overall just bad defense. And he can meaty Testament pretty reliably because Testament's reversal is not great. So yeah, that's that. Now we're at this tier. Where do I start? Oh, actually, wait, no, I lied. I said I was gonna put one more character. I'll put Chipp here. Why is Chipp here? Let's see. So Chipp, I mean, the neutral's really hard. The neutral's really hard. Easy with punishing on pretty much anything Sin does for Chipp. A Sin can't go under a good amount of stuff that Chipp does. A Sin also struggles on defense. I mean, bad mashing tools, bad defensive backdash, right? I mean, Chipp has a whole lot of safe jumps, so DP becomes less and less reliable. Chipp just dominates the neutral so hard that it's just pretty hard to function as a character at any space. The only thing Sin has going for him is that Chipp just melts when you hit him, but I mean, getting that hit is just so hard, dude. So hard. So yeah, that's the reason this matchup's here. Now this final tier, where do I start? Start with Pot. Pot is here. So, really bad round start. Really bad neutral. Pot just has so much HP that, I mean, he has so much HP that, like, Sin getting normal touches just don't seem, like, worth it a lot of times for the stamina you're spending. Like, it's absurd how much HP he has. Pot with meter can just force his way in. I mean, once you get in, he bursts, and then it's just like, well, back to square one. It's horrible. The neutral is just horrible. You know, once you, due to him having so much HP, it feels like once you get in and he bursts you, you've given him so much resources that, like, he's just getting back. It feels like, okay, what I'm trying to say is when you hit him, it feels like you're just giving back so much burst because of how much health he has. It feels like he gets, like, it feels like, dude, when you fight him, it feels like he has 10 bursts. So it feels like Pot unironically is pretty good in the air. So the air-to-air game is pretty weird. It's actually pretty painful for Sin. It's weird. Offense on Pot is scary since he is like, random Pot Buster just kind of killing you for fun. Sin's frame traps are 5-frame gaps, and Pot Buster's now huge. So it's always Pot Buster's frame 5 and it has armor, and it goes farther than before. So I mean, it's just Sin, a character that relies on frame trapping with like 5-frame gaps and whatnot. Like Pot Buster being a legitimate option, even more than it has been before, is just like, dude, like you're running pressure and then you get Pot Buster. Like what? Pot has access to safe reversal safe things, a meaty safe jab 5P. Also armor on Pot Buster if you try to mash. Heavenly Potemkin Buster PRC is really good. Sin can't meaty Pot safely. Anytime Pot has meter. Sin just does not win this matchup anywhere. Like, point blank period. Having a DP doesn't feel great when you do no damage, especially with the DP. It just does not feel great versus Pot. You just spend your life, like you just spend everything trying like to do anything in this matchup. That's how absurd it is. Like resources just don't feel worth spending, but you have to spend them. And being without is like, the matchup is just unplayable when you have nothing. Yeah, there's no win con for Sin. Like it's horrible, dude. Yeah. At the end of the day, Sin just has to, even when you're winning, it doesn't feel like you're winning because of how much health and damage Pot does and what he's able to do to Sin and the options that Sin has going for him. So yeah, overall terrible matchup. Next is Leo. Leo's here. Leo has like 3 things that are just super hard for Sin to deal with. Otherwise, outside those 3 things, it's fine. So the first one is Leo's offense is just too good. Back turn is just horrible to fight, and with the slide buff and the range, whatnot, because of like the dash momentum from the moves, Sin's options just are not great versus it. Sin backdash being slow does not help at all, since it's pretty easy to call out or see just, again, because it's slower. You have a hard time mashing 2P, because again, stubby, Sin's mash options are not great. Part of the reason why he loses to Soul. It just seems like DP is your only way out of his pressure, but with Leo, obviously he can cross it up, he can go cross up and whatnot, whether in back turn or with, the cross up move, which means a lot of times your DP is just not really an option, but you can't do that to him, since his is, obviously, Sin doesn't have any cross-up options like that, and obviously his is a charge input from down up. The follow-up attack on Leo's guard point just kind of screws over anything Sin wants to do, including Elk Hunt. This means, like, whiff punishing is just pretty hard to do in general and not really reasonable. Yeah, it's just not reasonable. Whiff punishing is just, it doesn't feel reasonable versus Leo, and while he's just, throwing shit out in neutral, especially with 2DRC. I mean, that shit is absurd. Third, Leo's Fireball. Sin just cannot do anything about this. You either have to just call it out preemptively or just hold it, because again, jumping over it is not reliable, because Sin's air options, like I've said, if Sin is in the air, he's losing, right? Like his air to ground, I've said it so many times, his air to ground buttons are just ass. They do not work. You can't go under it, and you can't beat it with anything, so you kind of have to do Beak Driver in trade and then reset back to neutral due to Beak Driver being just not as good as I would like it to be. So yeah, not a fun matchup, very hard to play. Do I think it's as bad as Pot though? Probably not. And then we have HC. So actually, no, I'm saving HC for last. Let's do Nago. So Nago, I mean, dude, Nago is just the frame data and spacing like king, dude. Nago outranges the hell out of Sin. Nago's buttons feel like they... Dude, Nago's buttons feel like they were actually made to just laugh at Sin. Like, they actually just spit... They actually just, like, taunt Sin. Like, they were actually, like... The devs, like, this is a cruel joke. Like, these two... Like, the normals between these two characters. I mean, dude, they're just long enough and like just barely even negative that Sin just can't do anything or punish them anywhere on the screen. Sin is just not reliable even taking your turn versus Nago when it's supposed to be your turn. Sin's normals are just slow and Nago's hurt boxes are just so retracted that it just, you can't, No type of whiff punishing is going on, dude. Nago does pot level damage on any touch. He gets to put you in the guessing game when he's minus, like I said. It's a matchup where Sin has to kind of get in once and never like let go, or else he'll lose that round. But again, with Sin's resources, it's just not reliable, especially if you're spending 2 stamina to do a guard crush strike throw setup. You throw, and then from there, you're just useless. Like, dude, a throw versus a character with infinite HP is just, spending stamina for it is just a waste, dude. Like, it's one of those matchups where even spending resources on good hits does not feel worth it, but you have to do it anyways. The matchup is probably Sin's worst, if not second worst. It is a horrible matchup. It's been horrible since release, even since Sin at his peak. It's just a terrible, terrible matchup. One back throw, dude, and the game is over. You just have to chance it on DP. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. You just have to literally hope and chance and slam DP. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Matchup is terrible. Neutral is unplayable. Now, this guy. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm considering putting this fucker in his own tier, but I won't. Where do I start? I have so much to say about Happy Chaos, dude. Oh my gosh. Okay. Chaos wins everywhere on the screen. Everywhere on the screen. Everywhere on the screen. He wins in your face. He wins at mid-screen. He wins at full screen. And Sin just has to guess everywhere on the screen, dude. Happy Chaos 2K is a perimeter button, and it's essentially the same. Fighting it feels the same as Axel 2K, and that button just destroys Sin. But guess what? If Happy Chaos hits you with the 2K, you go through the wall anywhere on the screen. Doesn't matter, bro gotta spend 1 or 2 bullets. Don't matter if he is at half concentration. His super, I mean, 6S sends you half screen, and then you super, that sends you another length of half screen. So I mean, like, any combo, doesn't matter what the starter is. 2P, 2K, the fucking, like, leaf falling on you and Happy Chaos comboing off it. Like, you're going through the wall. Like, it does not matter. Anywhere on the screen, you are going through the wall. So yeah, imagine if Axel could do that, right? The match would be unplayable, dude. Let's see. Chaos, I mean, he gets his resources when he combos you, and you don't. The issue with this is, dude, the amount of times I've spent all my stamina hitting Happy Chaos, I do a combo, I hit him, I break the wall, and then I look at my resources, I look at his. He's at 100 bar, full bullets, full concentration, and I have nothing. I literally have nothing. I can't stress it enough. But guess what? If you use all your stamina trying to hit him, and then he hits you, by the time, oh, okay, yo, he used all of his concentration and bullets in the combo. Wrong. Dude, if he's left at like a little less than half concentration as combo and like no bullets, he does concentrate when he wall splats you into super, refills his bullets, and you're back in it. DP is not reliable versus this character. I mean, like, it just doesn't, I mean, he's so plus, he jails you in this shit. He has roll that crosses up your inputs. The only way to really escape it is just DP, but it's not reliable. Like, your only way to escape Happy Chaos is DP, and that alone is not reliable. He has safe jumps off knockdowns, like a generous amount of safe jumps. I mean, dude. Oh man, okay, let's see, where else? Oh yeah, in pressure, Happy Chaos 2P beats both Elphelt and Hoof Stomp, so it beats both the high and the low from, like, what? Happy Chaos air buttons beat anything you do. You can't beat them. I mean, like I've said, like, characters that are good at being, like, Happy Chaos J2K is the best button in the game for Sin. Like, it doesn't matter, like, Sin cannot deal with it at all. And guess what? Because of the buff, you get a whole combo without using any bullets, dude. Like, how fun is that? Like, dude, I love it. I love it here, bro. Happy Chaos backdash is a war crime. Like, literally, it feels fucking illegal to use. Curse, I mean, Curse is broken. But you have big hurt boxes, so, you know, it feels like because of your hurt boxes, like, especially on Far Slash, you just get whiff punished so easily. If you're cursed, you can't whiff a normal, or else you just get shot because of Sin having laggy buttons. Happy Chaos has 2K, that is literally a sword, or 2S, which is 11 frames. You have a 13 frame 2S that is just worse version of his. And it's not even a low. I mean, like, what do? You have to, dude, the best thing you can do to try to counter 2K is do the same thing like Axel and use Hoof Stomp in neutral. But this requires you to have a lot of resources to even confirm that hit, But oh, yo, if he calls out you using hook stomp in neutral with any norm, dude, it could be with his fucking pinky, dude. Like, you are going through the wall. You're like, what the? And then he gets all of his resources back. Like, you're in it again, and DP is not reliable. You're just guessing over and over and over again. And even then, running offense on Happy Chaos isn't smooth. Like I said, when he jumps, you're screwed. You can't hit him out. When he mashes, oh, you beat the high? Well, let me do the low. Oh, you beat the low all with the same button? Oh, wait, what's the reward for being right on a move that beats both my high and low? Go through the wall? Cool. Unplayable. It's unplayable. Let's see. Burst is a loose condition. Whether you do it or he does it, you just lose. Round start is a joke. You either have to back off and let him do what he wants or chance it and get sent through the wall. I mean, like, dude, this matchup, it's a complete wash. It is a joke. This matchup is a joke. It is horrible. It's unplayable. It's a complete wash. I'm actually considering going back and playing Zato for it. It's horrible, dude. If one of these days you see me play in a tournament and I have to fight Happy Chaos, you're either gonna see the ugliest sin you've ever seen because I'm just gonna be trying to like throw shit at him, or I'm just gonna be playing Zato, dude. I would rather play like I'd rather play Dizzy versus Happy Chaos, dude. Like I'll drop down to the worst character in any other character than Sin. Like, this matchup is just unplayable. It's a complete wash. It is so one-sided. It's absurd. It is terrible, dude. The resource train is just so ass. Oh my gosh, dude. What a joke of a matchup. I can't stress this enough. If you play Happy Chaos and you out here losing this Sin, just don't even say in the comments, bro, because I'm gonna get sad. I will get sad. This matchup is terrible, bro. Yeah, I don't know. I can't stress it enough, dude. It's funny because Happy Chaos players will sit here like, dude, Sin beats Happy Chaos, and every time I see that, I'm just like, bro, what? Like, yeah, that's it. That makes my matchup chart. Again, it's not ordered within the tiers. I kind of said where I think some of the characters are, and maybe if it's in one tier, it could be in another. I've kind of talked about it for every character. I think that's in-depth enough. I've been recording for a little over an hour, so I should probably stop it here. But yeah, I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts. If you play a... Well, I mean, I was gonna say if you play a character on here. Every character is listed on here, so I'm curious to hear everyone else's thoughts. I promise I won't attack people for their opinions. Even if it's about Happy Chaos, I won't attack you for your opinions. I love talking about it, especially in the Discord. I love talking to people that have matchup questions or anything like that. I love discussing the game, so please tell me your thoughts. If you want to come at me all aggressive, I can take it. I promise I won't snap back. I have no enemies, dude. I have none, bro. I just wanna talk. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed me yapping about my character. Until the next video, guys, take it easy. God bless. Yeah, I'll talk to all of you soon. Thank you.